Well, good morning, everyone. Glad you could be here today. For those that don't know me, I'm Dave Gartner, principal at West Lutheran High School, and it's a pleasure to be here on a West Sunday, a chance for us to worship with you, a chance for us to just catch up and talk about what is happening at West right now. And so one of the things I like to start with before we even get into the Bible study is, do you have any questions? Are there things that you are wondering about West and its ministry? I will be doing a presentation after worship, and it's 7 minutes or so, 7 to 10 minutes to just talk about everything that's going on. We'll have a little bit of a video to be able to show. There's a video out there that you can see. So anybody, any questions this morning? The one that keeps on popping up wherever we go is people say, I've heard that you guys were discussing a building project. And so we have been discussing a building project, and we are still in the middle of that. What we did is we met with an architect and builder and our board, and we said we are going to create a Cadillac version of what we think we would really like at West and what can we do and what we think would be amazing. What we did is we came up with 17 classrooms. We'd tear some down, put more up. We'd have different science rooms. We would add a gymnasium, we would add an auditorium, we would add a new entry space, all sorts of things, and it would be $30 million. And so we brought in a task force, we brought in several people, we've brought in some of our people that have been some of our highest donors that we've had in the past. We said, how does this resonate with you? And they all said, the project sounds great. We don't think we can afford the price. So that made us a little bit go back to the drawing board. And so that's where we're at right now. We're looking at something more along the lines of 6 classrooms, don't tear anything down, build a gymnasium, a 3-court gymnasium, turn the current gymnasium into a fine arts facility, and do something more along those lines. Again, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just simply saying that is the direction that we're looking at right now, and we will propose and look at that and get some drawings and prices. And we're looking more at the $12 million range right now, 12 to 15, and trying to do something along those lines because the growth is there. As we'll talk about later, we grew by 35 students just this year alone with a class of 70 freshmen. Way to go, good job. And we have grown by about 85 students in the last 4 years. So that part is pretty exciting. Yes? How many of those students are WELS? So right now we have 56% of our enrollment is WELS Ls, and 11% is Missouri Synod, and then 7% is unchurched, and the rest are church families that belong to just other church bodies, like Covenant or Evangelical Free or things like that. You notice I put that one number in the middle because I wasn't doing the math in my head, so I was going to let you do the math. 56, 11, 7, and then that number subtract from 100. If you want to figure it out, yell it out to me if you figure it out. Great question, though. Yes? We have 2. So when COVID hit, that really just stopped everything in our tracks and basically had to start over. What we realize is it's just a funding model. Every time we go to another country to go try to find international students, it's about $15,000 to just go there and then hope that you get somebody. And so because our enrollment was growing so fast and because COVID had restrictions, we kind of put the brakes on a little bit, but we have 2 students. Mark.
The other thing, too, in addition to COVID, is I think a lot of schools looked at China
Yeah.
as international students in China really has put the clamps on letting students leaving their country. They want to keep them. And so even our current international students, both from Korea.
Yeah, both are from Korea. Yes, and one of the things, like we sent a team of 2 several years ago, 6 years ago, I believe. And one of the things we learned was if you go there, but your principal or president is not with you, that's pretty much a nothing. So you now have to send a high-ranking person, either your principal or vice principal, or president, whatever you have. We don't have a president model, so it'd have to be principal or vice principal has to go along with somebody else, but then you're paying 2 tickets, and then to get into these conferences, you have to pay a table fee for both people to be there and the table fee itself. So you pay for the table plus both people to be there and the plane tickets and the hotel rooms. So again, it's a little bit spendy, but they are also willing to pay a good amount of money to come to the U.S. to get schooling. So right now, our going rate is $33,500, and then $10,000 of that goes towards housing allowance. So we'll see that on a video coming up after church, that if anybody's looking to house international students, that's another reason why we have been a little bit hesitant to go and look for more international students, because we only have housing for one more. And so we need to get more people that are willing to house international students. So we are putting that out there so people know, and that lets us have more confidence to go out there and say, yeah, we have a home for you right away, instead of going, well, I think we'll have a home for you. A little bit different. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes?
I guess with like adding those classrooms potentially, what other types of classes are you gonna like look forward to offering?
Yeah, so one of the things we did, and we'll show that in a video here after church, would be we added 4 AP classes. We added a consumer math class. We added a painting drawing 201. So we added 6 classrooms just this year alone. Then as every year goes by, we try to look at some other classes, maybe some other schools are offering something maybe we're not thinking of, and then try to do that. We know our science program wants to continue to add more classes. The English department wants to add more classes. And so we just have to look and see what staff we have to offer those classes and be able to do that. Right now, our faculty is pretty full. All of our teachers are teaching 6 to 7 classes, and some teaching 8 out of 9 periods. So they're pretty full, and so we're trying to weigh between adding and so on. Mark.
Maybe just 2, I don't know, Christy, if this is what you're wondering, but I think for those 6 classrooms, how much of that would likely be more science focused and things like that? So maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, those 6 classrooms, if we would do that, would be 3 of those would probably just be designated as science rooms by themselves. Probably a little bit higher ceilings for some different physics things that we want to do. Lot bigger space, so that kind of the new model for science is, instead of just letting you be there like a regular classroom, they kind of give an arm's distance away in science, that you have that. And then the new rooms are saying, okay, here's your whole section for a lab, and here's your whole section for lecture. And you put them all in one room, but you separate them, and so that they have different space for that. So looking at the new models for science, where it's no longer the same, science doesn't have the same dimensions that they recommend as other classrooms. And so that'd be something that we would look at in that building project. Anybody else? All right. Well, I will start with our Bible study then this morning. Again, exciting to be here, and so I have a couple of things where you can talk with a friend, talk with an elbow partner. For those that don't know, our front entrance of West Lutheran. So being committed to the Word. How about we begin with prayer, and then we'll talk a little bit about cultural diversity. Dear God, Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity that we have here to meet and talk about your Word, and discuss and learn ways that we can share that Word with others. Be with us, grant us wisdom and strength and zeal to spread that message to others. We pray all these things in your name. Amen. So with an elbow partner, somebody close by, describe or talk about what do you think is cultural diversity. Talk with a partner. What is cultural diversity in your mind? You get up and walk around, that's fine too. Talk with a friend, discuss. What is cultural diversity? Give you another 30 seconds. All right. Who is willing to be brave this morning? Who wants to describe what your group said you believe cultural diversity is? What is cultural diversity?
Okay, so it is making sure that your workplace or your educational institution has got representation from all the various cultures
Okay.
that exist, so that there's also not only representation, but that you're preparing things so they're relevant or appropriate.
Appropriate for each culture and race. Okay.
So linguistically and otherwise, classes.
Classes, everything else. Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. Others, cultural diversity. Anybody back over here?
I think, also including respect for, different backgrounds and celebration of those differences too.
Okay. A lot of times, whenever you say cultural diversity, we often just go straight to nationality, but it's more than that. Did anybody say anything more than just nationality? That you could say, anybody back here, do you have one?
Well, everybody's got different beliefs depending on where they grew up, or what their religion is, or the color of their skin. It's just basically, everybody's different. So diversity could be looked at in several different ways.
Right. Anybody want to add to those three that she said? Economic, good, excellent. Yep. More?
I guess from a West perspective, it's kids that come in from a different school background. If they come in with a public school background versus one of our LESs, it's a very different culture.
Very different. They're like wondering, what are you talking about right now? What is this Lord's Prayer that you're saying? If it's a non-Wells person, doesn't have any Christian background, what is this? Your social, economic, like what's your wealth capacity? Where are you living? It was eye-opening when I was visiting my sister down in Florida a couple years ago, and I went through a ride through the park, and I realized that there was a section of the park that is for all the homeless that just sit in their cars, and they sleep in their cars. And I just happened to walk by the one car where the family was living in two cars. And I saw the daughter go into the other car and the son go into the other car, like almost like to go say hi to their parents, almost like in the morning. And I thought to myself, imagine what that's like going to school. That they wake up in the morning, how difficult was that to do homework? Whatever. So I'm just putting from a school perspective. Today we're going to focus on from a ministry perspective and understanding all of that cultural diversity. So the existence of a variety of cultural or ethnic groups in a society, or has that cultural diversity has increased, exposing kids to new tastes and experiences. So kids are getting better at this. But are we making changes as we go? So, again, describe the cultural diversity right here. What is the cultural diversity here at Ascension? I'm looking at a lot of Caucasian people here in this church right now. And what's really exciting for me and Pastor Kaesmeyer as we go around, we've been to many churches already, and it's not the same at every church. In fact, every church we've gone to has been different. Every single one. And so, what is the cultural diversity? Am I seeing it right here? Is this the cultural diversity of Ascension, pretty much? Pretty close?
We have some, a couple Liberian individuals that are
Okay.
classes and things.
Excellent. One of our other congregations also has Liberians in their congregation as well. And so we know that there are Liberians in the area. Again, thinking about that. What is the cultural diversity? Go ahead.
It would also include, too, our preschool is much more diverse than our congregation, so that's a blessing that our preschool has.
Right, and that would be the other thing. What is the diversity of your school, of your early child center?
I work for an organization that does outreach to the community, and it's mostly Somalis. So I'm actually, the sort of odd person.
Right.
So depending on what organization that you work for, sometimes it can go the other way, and you're
Yeah, and have you had to do something to learn about that culture? Have you grown in that culture? Do you know more about it than when you first started?
Oh, yeah, you surround yourself more with their ways of doing things and their beliefs, and you're constantly being exposed to different ways of life, and so you have to look at, okay, what do you tell people, and how do you tell them, and you're always constantly like having to think about, how they're going to take it.
Is adapt a word that I can use there?
I would say.
Adapt.
It's very much, I hope, it's like when you travel, and you're just surrounded by a different language, and you're like,
Right.
I'm going to try and make my way forward here with the help of people around me.
Yeah, have you ever left the country before? Anybody ever here left the country? You know? That's a big difference to go out there. Adapting, you know how that would go if you walk into that place of business and say, I'm doing it my way, and this is the only way to do it, and you're going to probably be ostracized pretty quickly. You know? But
Even they are looking at diversifying because they look at themselves as being mainly one group.
yeah,
Just the opposite of what you were telling me. So I think that's a good thing.
it is. It is. And again, looking to adapt. And so the community, we've said Somalians, Liberians, anybody else in this area?
A lot of people from
India? China? Okay. And we're talking within blocks away, right? Okay, good. I'll ask this question. Sometimes I wait to the end. How many people can pastor go and visit on a given week and still get his sermon and all the other stuff ready and do just to run the church? How many people is realistic that pastor can go visit during the course of a week? Anybody want to give a number? So far, just about all the pastors have said the same thing. The number that I've received, and I'll ask Pastor if you agree, is 10 a good number that I would say that you could make 10 would be a really fast-paced week, like you would be kind of swimming to do 10 in a week?
Having if you will, a pastor visit with each one, yeah, I would say 10 would be.
Pretty high. That's robust, right? Yeah. Yep, 10 is robust. And so my point is, for a pastor to go out and visit, he can get 10 a week. And that is like cruising and still doing everything else he's got to do. But as I look around the room, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I won't count Pastor. So if you just do one, you already are doing more than what he can in a really fast-paced week. And so thinking about that idea of going to meet people. So we'll put this into practice here as we start to look and go forward. Is everybody familiar with the story of the woman at the well? Do I need to read it? Do I need to read it for anybody? I can. Be happy to if we need to. Everybody good? Anybody want to summarize it? Somebody want to summarize that story? Mark, you want to summarize it for me this morning?
Jesus is in the process of traveling from Jerusalem going north to Galilee. And in those days, to do that as a Jewish person, you would avoid going through Samaria. So you take not as the crow flies, but the long way around. And Jesus goes to a little town in Samaria, goes through Samaria to a town called Sychar, and is kind of picking an out of the ordinary spot to stop, and he runs into a Samaritan woman who shouldn't be there at that time of day. You would normally pick up water in the morning, and she's doing it at midday, and Jesus purposely picks the time and the place because he had to go to talk to that person. And he starts with a natural need of a drink of water and moves from a natural need of drink of water into a spiritual need. And Jesus' interaction with her, he preaches harsh law, but then shares the sweet gospel of him being really the water of life. And she tries to avoid the topic, but eventually realizes that he's the true Messiah. And she's moved out of Thanksgiving to say, I have to tell everybody that I know about this. So Jesus kind of goes out of his comfort zone, out of his culture, picks a specific time and place because he had to meet with her and she had to hear it. So pretty awesome.
You catch what the main focus was? It says it in the Bible passage. Jesus had to go. Why? Talk with an elbow partner. Jesus had to go. Why? Give you 30 more seconds. Okay. Why did Jesus have to go? Find the lost sheep. He went out of what would be considered us comfort zone. They were so obsessed with that they would walk around the entire area instead of going as the crow flies, as Pastor said. And I forget what the number is. Does anybody remember what the number is? How many miles out of the way it is? Is it 7 miles out of the way? I forget what somebody said. I thought somebody told me it was 7 miles out of the way to just, instead of going straight, to go around. I'm like, I can't even walk 7 miles. There ain't no way I'm going 7 miles out of my, but that's the way they did it. That's what it was. And I heard something happen over here. I like your conversation over here too.
So we came up with the idea that it was God's plan. That was Susan's comment. I think it seems she was a very unlikely evangelist, not one that we would think would be going back and spreading the word of God. Seeing her position in society.
Yeah, she's probably not a well-liked. Well, I don't know. Well-liked is the word. Maybe she's liked, but not a person that you would see as your person that's going to do evangelism.
She's an outcast.
Yeah, she's an outcast. Talks about 4 husbands, and this one is not. And this 5th one's not your husband either. But what does she do? But Jesus says, "I'm going to give you what you really need." And she's amazed that he would know all of this about her. And instead of just being completely embarrassed and just kind of closing down, she can't wait to go tell other people. And so he had to go, and then she had to go. Like, she couldn't wait to share it with other people. And so that idea that we take that mindset and say, you know what? We can get a little bit outside our comfort zones. It's okay. It's okay to kind of sweating a little bit when you have to go talk to somebody. It's okay to be talking about your faith instead of just kind of like, oh, well, whatever. I always try to look for a different way. When I was back before I came here, I kind of had my group of people, and you could talk pretty easily, and a lot of people knew me, and I knew a lot of people, and it was pretty comfortable, and we could talk about Jesus fairly well. When I came to the cities, a little bit different. It doesn't seem quite so easy. So I have a membership at Planet Fitness, and I kind of had this mindset like, I'm going to be an evangelist at Planet Fitness, and I'm going to go and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be really great at it. And it was amazing how many people walk around with their heads down and don't talk to anybody. I found that Planet Fitness is maybe not your best place to do outreach. It maybe is, but I have not found it. So finally I found a person whose head was up, and I decided to strike a conversation with this gentleman. First person I ever talked to at Planet Fitness that really was willing to talk and actually shared. I saw him there every single day. He was on an elliptical machine, kind of pretty close where I was. We started talking, all this stuff, and just to get things started. And then about 2 weeks later, on one of our West Sunday visits, he was at a Wells Church. we both had the same idea. He's probably thinking, I got to find somebody to talk to and talk about Jesus. And I'm thinking, I got to talk to somebody about Jesus. And here's the two Wells people talking to each other.
In a way, he showed her something different about herself by elevating the conversation beyond the natural to the spiritual, because I think she was thinking poorly of herself from the standpoint of who she was in society. He was saying, you're really not that different from the rest of those people in the hometown.
Right.
So it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, we don't want, you know those little comic strips and it puts a bubble of a person's head? We would never want one of those bubbles above our head to be seen. You know, all the sin that we do in our lives, we would realize that we're all just as guilty as everybody else. We all are sinners just like everybody else. And she realized, yeah, I'm a huge sinner. And Jesus is saying, but I have the water of life for you. I have everything that you need. And I also have everything that everybody else needs. And they're not as good as they think they are. They're trying to pretend like they're okay, but no. She, on the outward, she's making sure, her sins are very obvious to people and outward. Maybe other people's sins are very inward, maybe. But again, that reminder that Jesus says, I need to go. I need to go right there, right now, at this time. I need to meet her. The disciples are going off and trying to find food or whatever in town and whatever else, doing everything, so they're not there. And he reaches to her, and he reaches her where she's at. And sometimes when we get out in the world, we have to reach people where they're at. Not where we're at, where they are at. And so I've learned to know that friendship evangelism is one of the greatest things that can ever happen. Because until somebody's comfortable with you, they're probably not going to talk and have any really in-depth conversations. So your first 2, 3, 4, 5 conversations might have nothing to do with God's word. You're just trying to get a conversation and become friends so that you can share something later. And that's not your only reason. Like, yeah, we in the world, we need friendships. It's great to get friendships. There was a family back where I came from, and I always said, Michelle and I had MLC friends, we had St. John Redwood Falls friends, and we had community friends. We had 3 different groups. And it would just depend which group we'd go hang out with. And our Redwood Falls friends, we had a group that we did a lot of similar things. The guys all liked to golf, just did all different things. At trick-or-treat time, we'd all dress up and whatever, and we'd have fun with all that. And over time, one of the friendships that we had started just kind of like, they started to ask questions. And one night, Jeff came up to me and he said, can I talk to you? I said, sure. He takes me over in a corner and he said, I need to know something more about you and your church. I just can tell that you and Michelle you have something different. And I told him about our church and he said, we're very interested. And the next Sunday they came to church. And then they said they want to know more. And eventually they became members. We hung out for probably 3 years before anything ever even happened. We talked about our church, we talked about our school, we talked about all sorts of stuff. But sometimes people aren't quite ready for it. Meeting people where they're at is a good opportunity, and just be there for each other. I tell this story, it kind of hits real for me. My mom and dad lived down in Florida. Mom and dad were in the ministry for 41 years, principal, kindergarten teacher, all that stuff. Served in Illinois, Milwaukee, Florida, and Michigan. And so, again, they decided to retire down in Florida. And then 2019 happened, that good old COVID thing. And the Lord called my dad home from COVID. And so my mom is alone, and one of the things that was interesting is while my dad was alive, they live on 5th floor of a condo. There's a swimming pool down below and everything. They would pass by their neighbor's house every single day, going down to the pool, going to their car. And this woman and her husband were there, and so they were fine. My parents were fine. My parents kind of stuck together with each other and didn't really go. They made friends down by the pool and stuff, but nothing crazy. And then one day, their next door neighbor, the husband, passed away. And so my mom says, you know what, I kind of need a friend. And so she decided to go and visit the next door neighbor and find out what her name and everything was, and her name is Honey. And so my mom talked to Honey, and she could tell that Honey needed a friend as well. So my mom and Honey started to gather a friendship. And so after hanging out for a while and doing puzzles together and go down to the pool, and always sits by the jets in the pool apparently, and that's the thing to do. My mom got the courage up to say, would you like to come to church with me? So my mom belongs to a church called Lakewood Ranch, Florida, and it says, can you come to church? She goes, no, I really don't have any interest in that. That doesn't. I'm not a Lutheran. I used to be, but I'm not. And so my mom let it go. Probably a month later, said, hey, you know what? Have you given any more thought? Would you like to consider coming to church? Nah, I'm good. I'm still good. But they still kept on hanging out, doing stuff, going out to lunch, going out to Red Lobster, and going out to whatever, and Chipotle, and different things, and just continue to build that friendship. My mom probably once a month would ask her to come. Nope, 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 nope. A year later, my mom asked her one more time and just said, I'm not going to stop. And she said, you've been pretty persistent. I'll go try it out. And so she came to church, and my mom wanted to make sure there wasn't a communion Sunday. So she wanted to make sure that everything was fine. And and so she's like, okay, let's go. We'll go the following Sunday. And we're like, okay, let's go. And so Honey comes to church. Great. Pastor is great. Talk to her. Wonderful. Next Sunday, you want to go to church? Nope. So I thought, oh, maybe it wasn't good. Maybe next Sunday you want to come? Yep. Okay. And now they've been going to church pretty regularly. Honey went away to her family for like 6 weeks in a row, so didn't go to worship. And when she came back, one of the first things she said to my mom when she came back was, hey, Judy, are we going to church tomorrow? And she brought it up. I tell that story because it might take a long time to make things happen. It took over a year to get Honey to want to come to worship. Building that friendship first and seeing and meeting where they're at. My mom had to find out, okay, their background, their Christian background is not that strong because she's not going to church anywhere. You're not sheep stealing from anywhere. Here's a person who needs to know her Savior, Jesus. And so you just keep on working with that, with people. And you maybe have that same person in your life. If you take 15 seconds, 30 seconds right now, can you think of a person that could be the Honey, in a sense, in your life, the person that you want to talk to and somebody that you could reach and meet and just start that friendship? I've been trying to do with my next door neighbors the last couple days, working out with the leaves and everything. And so last night I was working out there and doing leaves, and my next door neighbor came across. And we are very good friends, and I decided to talk to him a little bit about some things that are happening in my life right now. And I said, I'm just going to keep on praying that the Lord would guide me in my thinking and things like that. And I just kept on saying Jesus and Lord and going to church on Sunday and West and Lutheran and just kind of different things. And I don't know where it's going to go. He did offer to bring a beer out for me. He goes, "Did you like a beer?" I'm like, sure. So we talked some more and built some other friendship. And I go across the yard, and here's my other neighbor on the other side of me, and we start talking. And I kind of shared some of the experiences that are happening in my life right now and talked the same kind of thing. And he's like, you know what, I'm going to pray for you. And he goes, yeah, we just went to church on Sunday. So I know here's a person that's going to church, and I'll have to find out what church it is. I'm just kind of going things slowly right now, but not being afraid. Taking the words of Jesus when he said, I had to go. Look at your neighbors the same way. Look at the people in your lives and say that same mindset. I have to go, because we don't know when that last day is going to come. We don't know when their last day is. We don't know when ours is. We don't know when theirs is. We don't know when the last day for everyone is. So work while it is day. Put the cultural diversity aside in the sense of we can't be afraid. As we look around this area right around here, there are thousands of people out there. One thing I noticed this morning, when I go to work in the morning, I have to pass 494, or 94, I guess what it is. And it's wall-to-wall cars, and there's like, to try to weave into traffic. This morning when I went over the overpass, and I'm not joking, I could see for a mile, and there was not even one single car on the highway this morning. Now, I know I was a little bit early for church, but I'm wondering when I go back home, would it be the same thing? Would that road be completely empty? Reminding me of all the people that maybe need to be in worship on Sunday. There's a lot more people going to work than there are going to church in the morning. And so that's also that reminder for us that we need to work while it's day, share that message, and realize how strong friendship evangelism is. And that you can visit more people than pastor can. And often, it's the friend that speaks that makes them more willing to come to church than if a pastor asks somebody to come to church. You're going to probably have more pull than pastor does. So again, may you go out there with strength and courage and wisdom and zeal to go out and share that message with others so that that kingdom can grow, and trust that the Holy Spirit will work with you and through the words of your mouth to go and have you say the right things and enjoy that opportunity of sharing that gospel message. So thank you. I appreciate it this morning. Done a little bit early this morning, but any questions, any things that you want to bring up either through this or about West? Mark?
Maybe just a question, I don't know, Pastor Roloff, and now that, your preschool is kind of up and running, do you have a sense of, families that are in the preschool that maybe don't have a church home or a relationship, and is there anything that this group can do to reach out? So maybe just start with that first question. What's the family makeup of preschool?
Sure, yes. All of our families that come in take, and we of course have the standard registration, and then also has, if you already have a church home. And the vast majority of them do put a church down for that. The question then becomes, how involved are they at the place that they are? That's part of it is and you can tell, and we found out, which families are regularly in worship and which ones aren't. Like last Sunday, we had the preschool children sing, and we had not only that, but we had good attendance too. And that's one thing that people can do is when we have events like that, take and not only welcome but try to reach out and support our families. We have different events during the course of the year, so we had the trunk or treat in October. We had the kids sing. They'll have their Christmas program in December. So all those things are times where we can show them love and get to know them and encourage them in the Lord.
What year did you do Telling the Next Generation? I forget. What year did Ascension do Telling the Next Generation?
That must have been about 5 years ago, I would think, something like that.
Yeah, so it was a year or two before I came. I couldn't remember if it was.
I think so.
Okay.
Pretty close to that.
One thing, somebody gave me this tip, and I've tried to use it now wherever I go. Ask a person what church they belong to, but more importantly, ask the name of their pastor. Because many people don't know the name of their pastor, thus they don't go to church. You'll be able to remember your pastor's name if you're a regular attendee in church. And so oh, I can't think of it for a second. Like, oh, what is it? Like, yeah, you're not going to church. So somebody gave me that tip, and so that's one of the things that I try to do. And if they can rattle it off right away, I'm like, oh, it means you're going pretty regular probably. And we can still, but it's still fun that we can talk about Jesus. It doesn't mean you have to be Wells Ellis for me to talk to you about Jesus and your faith life. So to me, that's a good thing too.
Another little hint, and I know we tried to do it at Cross of Christ, or try to say it again and again. And when you have those signature events, when you got preschool families that are showing up, and really I'll call it any Sunday, is we have a tendency to gravitate to the people that we know and have those conversations. But just to get it in your head right away, wait a minute, I might have a guest that's walking in the door that I don't know. Well, you would go over and introduce yourself. And I'm notorious for saying this, is walking up to someone and saying, I probably should know your name, but I don't. And that puts the onus on you, even if they're a long-time member or a first-time guest, you're owning the fact that you don't know them. And so, they might say, oh, no, I've been here a long time. I've been a member here a long time. Well, that's my fault for not knowing. See how that works? So I just say it to yourself, I probably should know you, but I don't. And so look at an unfamiliar face and just intentionally go to that person. And that's kind of Jesus' approach, isn't it? I had to go to talk to that person. And so that's a great way when you have those preschool events, because it's a big thing for them to walk in the doors for the first time. They have no idea what it's going to be like. Am I dressed appropriately? Are they going to stand up? Are they going to call me out? So that's a big unnerving thing to walk into a church door for the first time. So if you in worship welcome can do that, that's a huge, huge help for sure.
And I would add one more piece. He's got it perfectly there. It's one more piece is when pastors talking about trunk or treat or any of the other events, my previous place, we used to call it all hands on deck, whether it's faculty or staff. And so I'm going to ask you a question, but don't take anything personally, okay? How many people in here went to trunk or treat? All right, so a chance, if possible, everybody goes. And then you all get to pick different people and say, oh, here's new families I don't know, and I get that chance to do that. And it helps that you tell yourself, I'm going to meet somebody new tonight. And then what we would try to do is the next morning we'd debrief, and everybody had to go around the table and say, who did you meet tonight? Or who did you meet last night, I should say. And so it made you have to think, okay, I'm sort of going to be quizzed on this a little bit. So it made you talk to the person with a reason, a purpose, and it also made you have to remember things about them so that next time you see them, you are able to talk to them and carry on the conversation as if you just never left. Keep on going. Keep it going. I remember your dog was ill, or I remember you just had surgery, or I remember your mom was not feeling very well, or your child was sick. And if you can connect with that and you can show them that you remembered that, and a lot of times the way to remember it is to say it to somebody else, that is going to help you remember so the next time you see them in your door, you beeline for them and you get there and you go talk to them immediately to show that you care. And as soon as that family sees that you care that much about them and you remember something about their life, they often will come back because they know that it's a family who cares. Any other things? Any other questions this morning? Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, then, and it ends up maybe no one does.
Right.
So that's not good.
Yep.
What we've heard about what it takes to walk into a church and not just assume someone else will take care of it, but, like you said, like the Lord himself says, I'm gonna do this.
I got to go. It was always hard because my basketball reffing partner had a child in preschool, and I knew I had to go to other people and I couldn't talk with my friends. But my friend Tim did not know, and he would always come to me, and he's like, oh, let's start talking, like, let's talk basketball and other stuff. And I'm like, Tim, I got to go. Like, I got to go. And now, I just heard a couple weeks ago, he's the chairman of the board now. It's like, so it's super cool that this younger guy has now taken over and gone the next steps. And But yeah, you sometimes tell your friends, I'm sorry, I got to go talk to these other people. We got to get to know them. Could you go talk to that person over there? How about you get to know that person over there and talk to them about Jesus? So this morning, when we go through worship, and I'll give the presentation at the end, don't be afraid to ask any questions that you have. I'll be happy to share. It'll be up on the video, but 2 o'clock today, come out to the play that Wes is putting on. It's fabulous. It's super fun. Kids are doing a great job, and you would enjoy it. So again, 2 o'clock out at West to see Ghost Light is a fun little play the kids are putting on. Anybody else?
One other thing is, is what you said earlier about if you don't, what will be the consequence? Because you look at it and you say, this may be the only time I'm going to be given an opportunity. Hopefully that's not the case, but it might be.
Right.
Because you don't know, you're here, they're here.
Right.
Maybe at a place in their life where they're especially open, maybe to hearing about.
Yeah. Honey is 88 years old. My mom's 81. So you never know. Every day is another day of God's grace. And so you don't know. Or you could be 10 years old and you don't know what tomorrow is. But the Lord's given you the energy to do it. Again, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. We look forward to worship here in a few minutes.